Helen hadn't slept through the night in over 15 years. She wasn't ill, she wasn't depressed, but something in her body had changed, quietly, gradually, until one day she realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd closed her eyes and woken up with the sun. At first, it was mild, a little tossing, a night or two of waking up around 3, unable to fall back asleep. But over time, those nights became the rule, not the exception, and what began as a sleep issue became something deeper. She stopped reading before bed, stopped walking in the morning. She even stopped making Sunday pancakes for her husband, something she hadn't missed in over 4 decades of marriage. "I just didn't have the energy," she said. "Not for cooking, not for laughing, not for me." Hi, I'm glad you're here. If you're over 60, or if you care for someone who is, you may understand what Helen was going through. Not just the exhaustion, but the quiet way it spreads into everything else. Your mood, your memory, your connection with the people you love. I'm not here to offer a miracle or a quick fix. I want to share a story about one woman who made a few small natural changes and found her way back to rest, not through pills, but through something far more ordinary. Before we go further, I invite you to stay with me until the end, because in Helen's story, you'll discover the 4 vegetables that helped restore deep, natural sleep after 60. You'll learn how certain foods, at the right time, can calm an overactive nervous system. And you'll see how sleep, when it returns, brings back more than rest. It brings back life. If any part of this feels familiar, please consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment. There are millions of people like Helen, and one small story can make a big difference. When Helen first came to me, she wasn't looking for vegetables. She'd tried pills, prescription and herbal. She'd tried warm milk, lavender sprays, bedtime yoga, and sound machines. Nothing stuck. "I feel like my brain just refuses to shut off," she told me, "and even when I do sleep, I wake up exhausted." I asked her what she usually ate after 4 p.m. "Not much," she said. "Crackers, maybe a little soup. Sometimes I just skip dinner. I don't want to be up all night going to the bathroom." Then she mentioned something interesting. She used to make roasted beet salad earlier in the day, just beets, olive oil and vinegar, but had stopped because she didn't think it mattered anymore. That's where we began. Beets are rich in natural nitrates, which help open up blood vessels and improve circulation. In older adults, reduced blood and flow, especially to the brain, can interfere with the body's ability to transition into deep sleep. Less oxygen at night means more micro-awakenings, more tossing, more dreams that don't resolve. So we made one change. Helen began eating a small portion of roasted beets every afternoon, around 3:30 or 4 p.m. Not at dinner, not right before bed, just early enough for her body to absorb the benefits before evening arrived. By the 4th day, she noticed something. "My head feels clearer," she said. "I'm still waking up, but I'm not wide-eyed. I can fall back asleep without staring at the ceiling for an hour." That was enough to keep going. By the end of the first week, she had her first 5-hour stretch of uninterrupted sleep in over a decade. "I didn't believe it at first," she told me. "I thought I'd just forgotten to check the clock. But no, I really slept." What was happening inside her body wasn't magic. It was biology. Better oxygen delivery meant her brain didn't need to stay half awake to protect her. Better circulation meant her nervous system could relax. And that meant her melatonin, yes, the body's natural sleep hormone, had the space to act and do its work. Sleep isn't something you force, it's something you allow. But for that to happen, the body needs to feel safe. And sometimes, safety begins with a signal as simple as a roasted beet. "I still don't love the taste," she admitted, "but I love what it's doing for me." She had more energy in the morning. Her balance improved. Even her husband noticed she was humming again while making tea. That was just week 1. And we had 3 more vegetables to go. In the next part of Helen's story, I'll share what happened when she added a leafy green to her evening routine, one she hadn't touched since childhood. It didn't just help her fall asleep faster, it helped her stay asleep longer. So if you've been struggling to feel rested, if sleep feels like a stranger, you'll want to hear what comes next. Night needs. Helen wasn't sure what to expect. After 1 week of adding beet salad to her late afternoon routine, something had clearly shifted. She still woke occasionally, but the edge had softened. Her mind didn't spiral when the ceiling stared back at her. Her body didn't brace for a long, hopeless night. "It's like the panic left my pillow," she said. "I still wake up, but I don't feel punished anymore." At our next visit, I asked about her evenings. She paused for a moment, thoughtful. "My mind is quieter," she said, "but my legs feel tight, not painful, just restless, like they don't know how to shut off." That was all I needed to hear. I asked if she'd be open to trying one more change, "Only if it's not another vegetable," she joked. When I told her it was kale, she rolled her eyes. "Kale? I thought only yoga people and green juice fans ate that stuff." We both laughed. But then I explained why. At her age, kale might be the exact signal her body was waiting for. Kale is one of the most nutrient-dense greens available. What matters for sleep isn't just the vitamins. It's what those nutrients do to the nervous system. Kale is high in magnesium and calcium, both essential for calming the body's stress response. Magnesium helps relax muscle tension and reduce nighttime twitching. Calcium supports the production of melatonin and regulates neurotransmitters. Kale is also rich in vitamin K, which supports heart circulation, particularly to the brain. And perhaps most important for Helen, these minerals work best when delivered through food, not pills. At her age, absorption from supplements had become less efficient, but a warm plate of sautéed kale that the body recognized, that the body could use. So she agreed. Lightly cooked kale with dinner, not raw, not in a smoothie, just simple. Olive oil, garlic, a sprinkle of lemon. She began eating it around 5:30 each evening, alongside something light. Sometimes fish, sometimes soup. She wasn't trying to be perfect, just consistent. By the 3rd night, she sent me a note. "My legs didn't argue with me when I lay down," she wrote. "They weren't buzzing or twitching. I didn't feel like I had to stretch for an hour before bed." That might not sound like much, but for someone who had felt trapped in her own limbs for years, it was the beginning of peace. By the 6th night, something even bigger happened. She slept through the night. Not a perfect 8 hours, not uninterrupted, but she didn't get out of bed. She didn't check the clock. She didn't start the morning feeling defeated. I opened my eyes and felt rested, she said. Even her husband noticed. "You were still the whole night," he told her at breakfast. It's the first time I didn't hear the blanket rustling since I can remember. Helen teared up when she told me that. Not because she was emotional, but because she hadn't realized how deeply her sleeplessness had affected him too. I thought I was the only one losing sleep, she said, but I wasn't. We both were. Sometimes the pain of sleep loss isn't just the exhaustion. It's the guilt, the loneliness, the sense that your body has become a burden to the people you love. But now, for the first time in years, that weight was lifting. What was happening inside her was simple but profound. Her body, through kale, was receiving the nutrients it needed to relax. Not in some mystical way, but chemically, biologically, practically. When magnesium levels rise steadily in the body, muscles soften. The breath deepens. The nervous system slows its firing. Calcium ensures that melatonin is produced at the right time, not in sudden bursts, but in steady waves that lull the brain into rest. Vitamin K supports blood flow to the brain, helping the mind stay calm throughout the night, not startled awake by oxygen dips or circulatory hiccups. All of this from a side dish. Helen wasn't chasing perfect sleep. She was building a new relationship with night, one that wasn't filled with dread. I used to think sleep was a mystery, she said. Now I think it's a conversation. And finally, my body is answering back. If you've ever laid in bed and begged your body to cooperate, only to feel more alert, more tight, more restless, this part of Helen's story may feel familiar, but it's not the end. In the next chapter, I'll share what happened when Helen added a vegetable she nearly threw away every week. The one that helped reduce nighttime bathroom trips and gave her the confidence to sleep straight through until morning. If you're still waking up again and again, stay with me. The smallest change might still be waiting to make the biggest difference. Helen's sleep had changed, but not completely. By the end of her second week, with beets in the afternoon and kale in the evening, she was sleeping more deeply, more gently. Her legs no longer twitched. Her shoulders didn't tense with every breath. She even started looking forward to bedtime, a feeling she hadn't had in years. But one problem remained. I still wake up once or twice, she said. Not from stress, just to go. She meant the bathroom. For years, Helen had accepted nighttime urination as an inevitable part of aging. Doctors had told her it was common. Friends said the same. She cut back on fluids after 6 p.m., avoided caffeine, and even stopped eating soup. Still, most nights, she'd wake between 1 and 3 a.m. with the urge to get up. It's not terrible, she said, but every time I get out of bed, it breaks the spell. I lose the rhythm, and I never sleep quite the same again. I understood. For many older adults, the issue isn't falling asleep. It's staying asleep, and fewer things interrupt rest like a bladder that refuses to wait. So we made one more change. We added asparagus, not at night, not even at dinner, but at lunch. Helen was skeptical. Asparagus? She asked. Isn't that the vegetable that makes your pee smell funny? Yes, but there's more to it than that. Asparagus is a gentle, natural diuretic. That means it encourages the body to release fluid, but only when eaten at the right time. For older adults who tend to retain water during the day and release it at night, asparagus can help shift that timing earlier. Think of it like giving your bladder a head start, I told her. We're not trying to reduce how much you eliminate. We're just moving it to earlier in the day. She agreed to try. Steamed asparagus with lunch. Nothing complicated. a drizzle of olive oil, a pinch of sea salt, maybe a squeeze of lemon. She added it around 12:30 each afternoon, 5 days a week. The effects were subtle at first. By day 3, she noticed she was urinating more in the late afternoon. By day 5, she made it to 4 a.m. before needing to get up. And by day 7, something remarkable happened. I slept until 6, she told me. No interruptions, no waking up to go. I opened my eyes and saw the sun, and I felt like I'd gone back 20 years. She smiled as she said it. Not a forced smile, not the polite kind, a real one. The kind that comes from a body that feels safe again. Her husband noticed, too. You're lighter in the mornings, he said. You get up like someone who actually slept. That single week of uninterrupted sleep changed more than her energy. It changed her routine. She started walking again in the mornings. She called her sister just to chat. She even began baking, something she hadn't done in over a decade. Sleep doesn't just make me feel better, she said. It makes me want things again. Small things. But they matter. We didn't talk about asparagus much after that. It became just another part of her life, like brushing her teeth or watering the plants. But it was a quiet, powerful reason her nights stayed whole. If you're watching this and you've been waking up to use the bathroom at night, I want you to know something. It doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes what feels like age is really just imbalance. And sometimes imbalance can be gently nudged back into place. A vegetable like asparagus might not seem like much, but to your kidneys, to your bladder, to your sleep, it could be a whisper your body has been waiting to hear. In the next part of Helen's story, you'll see how one last leafy vegetable, added at exactly the right time, helped her reclaim something deeper than rest, a sense of emotional peace she hadn't felt since her 40s. If you've stayed with me this far, thank you. I hope you'll stay for the final chapter. By the start of her 4th week, Helen was sleeping. Not every night perfectly, not every hour without interruption, but consistently, deeply, in a way that let her body exhale and her mind come back to stillness. And something unexpected began to happen. I think I'm feeling joy again, she told me one morning, and I didn't realize how long it had been missing. For most of our conversations, Helen had focused on the practical, how many hours she slept, whether her legs twitched, how often she woke to use the bathroom. But now she was speaking differently, not just about symptoms, but about self. I caught myself humming the other day while folding laundry, she said. Just humming, for no reason. That small moment, one she might have ignored years ago, felt like a message, not from her body, but from something deeper, a part of her that had gone quiet during all those sleepless years. Because the truth is, chronic sleep loss doesn't just wear down your energy, it erodes your identity. You stop making plans, you stop reaching out, you stop imagining futures, even small ones. But now, with rest returning, Helen was remembering herself. She started walking in the mornings again, not far, just down the block and back, but enough to feel the sun on her skin before the day began. She started calling her sister more often. They didn't talk about anything big, sometimes just the weather. But the connection mattered. She even started setting the table again, forks and napkins and all, something she hadn't done in over a decade. Her husband noticed first. "You laid out placemats?" he asked. She smiled. "I guess I felt like it." That simple sentence held so much. Because when sleep returns, so does desire. Not the dramatic kind, but the quiet desire to participate in life, to cook something new, to reach out, to care. Helen didn't feel transformed. She felt remembered. Like her body had been trying to protect her all these years, but now it was safe to open the door again. "I think I stopped trusting rest," she told me. "I stopped trusting that I could lie down and not wake up broken." She wasn't alone in that. And I've seen it in a countless older adults. The subtle grief of losing sleep becomes the deeper grief of losing self. And so when Helen told me that she'd started dreaming again, vivid, colorful dreams that stayed with her in the morning, it wasn't just a medical update. It was a kind of resurrection. "You want to hear something funny?" she asked. "Always," I said. "I had a dream I was back at the lake house. I was 22. I was swimming, and I wasn't even thinking about it. I felt weightless." That, I think, is what healing looks like in the language of the body. Not fireworks, not breakthroughs, just a quiet dream of floating, effortless and free. If you've been living in the fog of exhaustion for years, you may have forgotten what it feels like to move through your day without dragging. But your body hasn't forgotten. It remembers how to rest. It remembers how to hope. Helen didn't need a new identity. She just needed her old one to resurface. The one buried under years of restless nights and quiet disappointments. Now she was finding it again, one night at a time, one meal at a time, one quiet joy at a time. In the final part of her story, I'll share how we completed her journey with one last change that wasn't about food, but about rhythm. The gentle kind that restores not just sleep, but peace. If you've followed Helen's journey this far, I hope you'll stay with me. Because what comes next isn't just about sleep. It's about the return of something many older adults thought they'd lost forever. A sense of home within themselves. By the 5th week, Helen had stopped counting how many hours she slept. She no longer checked the clock at midnight, no longer kept a journal by her bed to track awakenings. She didn't need to, because her nights had taken on something she hadn't felt in years. Rhythm. Not perfection. Rhythm. Her sleep wasn't always uninterrupted. Some nights were shorter than others. But there was a flow to them now, a gentleness, a return. I stopped trying to control sleep, she told me, and somehow that made it easier to find. What changed wasn't just what Helen ate. It was when she ate, and how she moved, and how she breathed. But more than that, it was how she let go. Let go of the idea that sleep needed to be a performance. Let go of the fear that one bad night would ruin everything. Let go of the pressure to get 8 perfect hours. Instead, she embraced consistency. Dinner at the same time. Lights low by 9 o'clock. Screens off by 9:30. A few pages of an old book. Then bed. No apps, no hacks, no more trying to force sleep like a stubborn door. Now I just invite it, she said. And most nights, it arrives. What Helen discovered wasn't a cure. It was a rhythm. And rhythm, for the aging body, is far more powerful than intensity. She no longer asked, "What can I do to sleep tonight?" She asked, "What does my body need?" to feel safe today? The answer, more often than not, was simple. A plate of roasted vegetables, a short walk before sunset, a conversation without hurry, and the grace to forgive herself when rest didn't come easily. One evening, she told me something that stayed with me. "I used to think I was broken," she said, "like something in me had failed. But now, I think I was just tired. Really, deeply tired. And I didn't know how to rest." That's a truth I wish more people could hear. Because when you believe you're broken, you look for fixes. You chase pills, programs, products. But when you realize you're tired, you remember something else. Tired things don't need fixing. They need rest. And resting things, when given time, can heal. In the end, Helen didn't need perfection. She needed rhythm and kindness toward herself. And a little patience while her body remembered what it had always known: how to sleep, how to soften, how to come home. If you've followed her story this far, thank you. I hope something in her journey has echoed in your own. Maybe you've been chasing sleep for years. Maybe you've stopped believing it's possible. Maybe, like Helen, you've felt like a stranger in your own nights. But I want to offer this. What's broken in, you may not be broken at all. It might just be tired. And tired things can rest. And resting things can heal. If this story has touched something in you, I invite you to leave a comment. Share it with someone who's struggling. Or simply sit with the hope that maybe, just maybe, your best nights aren't behind you. They might be closer than you think. And they might begin with something as simple as a plate of greens and the permission to slow down